posted to the township video website. You can submit public comment by email to glippincott@westrock-hilltownship.org. We will take public comment until the end of the meeting. We will review public comment prior to the vote at the end of the meeting, depending on what is appropriate. All right. Welcome. Thank you all for attending the 2024, or I should say, October 24th, 2022 meeting for the American Rescue Plan funds. I'd like to begin by pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right. If there are any public comment on the agenda items, please state your name and address. I don't see any. Seeing none. Announcements. Greg, do we need an executive session after tonight's meeting?
No, we don't.
Okay, very good. Thank you. The next on the agenda here is the American Rescue Plan funds, the deadlines, the background, and the funding ideas and requests. Okay, Greg, can you fill us in on what the deadlines might be?
Sure. The townships have until December 31st, 2024 to obligate the funds, and until December 31st, 2026 to actually spend them. So we have received $548,541.31 of the American Rescue Plan funding.
Can you repeat that, please, for me?
Oh, Sherry, can you go back? $548,541.31.
Thank you.
That's what we received from the federal government.
Okay.
I'm using some of the PowerPoint presentation. You have it also in your packets from our auditors,
Yes.
which goes on to say about when the expenditures have to be through December 31st, 2024. However, payment doesn't have to be till December 31st, 2026. So at your December 2024 meeting would be the last chance that you have to authorize any funds. So we have 2 years and 2 months to get this done.
Okay.
To obligate.
Right. So like if, for example, let's just say you bid out roads, and we'll get into that discussion. You would have to make that decision at your December 2024 meeting at the latest.
No later than. So obligation means an order placed for property and services entering into contracts, subcontracts, and so that require payment. That's what
Correct.
Means, right?
And so then they wouldn't, if whoever won the bid wouldn't have to do it till the summer of 2025, and then we would have to pay them when they were completed prior to December 31st, 2026.
Okay.
If you want to go to the next slide.
Yes.
Under the rule, there was the opportunity for the township to take money if we lost revenue during COVID. However, our auditors looked into it, and West Rock Hill Township did not lose revenue during that time when COVID was at its highest. However, local governments can have a one-time exemption of $10 million. So since we only received $540,000 in change, we're allowed to take that standard $10 million claim and use it for a project. We'll go to the next.
Yep.
Any amount under 10 million can be presumed a lost revenue without further calculations. That's part of that exemption process. So since we did not, if we got $11 million, that would be something different in ARP funds. But since we got under $10 million, that is less.
Okay.
So we can spend it on whatever. Government service generally included for traditionally provided by a government unless Treasury has stated otherwise. Common examples of government services are construction of schools and hospitals, road building and maintenance and other infrastructure, health services, general government administration, staff for administrative facilities, provisions for police, fire, and other public safety, including the purchase of fire trucks and police vehicles. So pretty much everything that we do is eligible for this money.
Okay.
So that's pretty much the deadlines and the background of it.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
This ZA, this accounting firm, they do this as a service to us, or we don't have them under, we haven't engaged them in anything, have we? The certified
Yes, we
public-
have.
We have.
They are currently our regular auditors.
Okay,
We've engaged them in the service to do all our auditing with the federal government. And not only that, but they're PSAT's representatives for the entire state when it comes to the ARP funding.
thank
So,
you.
They know what they're doing.
Any other
If-
comments? Go ahead.
Yeah, if we went back to ZA for any type of clarifications or anything, if we had to engage there for further services, or would be continued billing for that, or is that just all covered under umbrella?
That is all covered under an umbrella payment that the board already made.
All right, thank you.
And I'll just chime in. I believe the PSATs also has a fair amount of library on updates, what's going on, webinars, etc., which are recorded. So if there's something like, it's fairly easy to find it if you look through the PSAT's websites or give them a question, because they've been keeping up with this as well, trying to herd cats with all the different municipalities.
So whenever we get to the time that we're going to make a decision, most likely I will run it past the auditors as well to make sure that we are not doing anything that would jeopardize the fund or have a finding in the audit.
Okay. Do we want to discuss or identify the requests that we had so far?
Well, that's up to the board. It's in your packet. I can go through them if you want.
I would like you to.
Yes.
Okay, the first one was a request from the Bucks County for ambulances, emailed the Board of Supervisors, and they were one of our confirmed appointments back in June of 22. Another request came from the Penridge Senior Center. Another idea, this was not a request, was the Tabor Water Project. It is a township issue. However, Percy Regional is going for a different type of ARP funding source through Penvest. The Board of Supervisors have sent a letter of support to get this grant for Percy Regional Authority. Another idea is the Holiday House Pool could be requesting money. The other could be the township for road funds or for the salt shed. One of the things that we got clarification from the auditors was that the salt shed, since it was bid correctly, and it's for public infrastructure, we could use that money for the salt shed. There was also talk with East Rock Hill Township regarding the Tabor Road sewer project, which is different than the water project. The Board of Supervisors got an email from the Historical Society. East Rock Hill also spoke to me about some funding for the Penridge Regional Police Department, which could go for marked police cars and special PC mounts, along with $10,000 for body cameras for all officers to have. There's also the meeting room upgrade. And also Chief Dickinson for Penridge Regional Police gave a memo of one of his requests. So these are just some of the funding ideas. These are the ones that we received. The board might have some of their own.
Well, I think you listed my first two things when you made us aware that we were getting this money was, of course, the number one thing on my concern was Tabor Road, the contaminated water that's up there from the Bergies fire. And the other thing was infrastructure, roads, the paving of roads and stuff. Now, that was before we got all these requests that have been listed here, and they're all duly noted. You know, everybody does need help. Every one of these, I believe, has been affected by COVID, by what happened with the shutdown of our whole way of life, actually. So they all do deserve some thought and recognition. However, I don't know at this time. I'm ready to make a commitment one way or another on how we go, but I am willing to listen to thoughts, ideas, and I know that there may be some people attending, like Chief Dickinson, that may want to make a comment regarding something. Mr. Collingwood or Mr. Shermer, do you have any comments regarding your thoughts?
I do. I have two, either questions, answer, comments. Initially, I may have more. Mr. Lippincott, number 5, a ruling came down the township we use the funds for. That covers, that would be road building, maintenance, and other infrastructure, which would include the salt shed. How much do we have, did we spend on the salt shed?
Approximately $89,000, give or take some change.
All right, $90,000. Okay, so that would be covered. It could be covered under that infrastructure. And the second thing, a question I have, could you speak, Mr. Lippincott, to the word audit and how that could be an issue or not an issue?
Sure. Anytime that the federal government gives you money, they have the right to audit your books to make sure that you've bid it properly, made sure you met with the terms of the federal law when it comes to the American Rescue Plan funds. They want to make sure that you've spent it on something that meets their criteria. I think most of what we do, 90% would fit into that. I'm sure there is 10% that probably wouldn't. But we want to make sure that we meet all of the American Rescue Plan funds goals, objectives, and rules. The reason being is if we don't, we would have to pay the funds back to the federal government, which is
not going to happen.
Not going to do.
Not going to happen.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
I guess my take on this is that fortunately, it looks like we did not lose a heck of a lot of money for the township. We do have a couple of entities that were pretty well that had their business model knocked out by COVID. So we're looking at trying to figure out how to allocate and get the most benefit for the most number of people, which is going to be difficult, but that's what we're doing. That's what we have to do. And I think that's the way of looking at it, is how do we get the most benefit for the most number of people with a finite amount of money?
Right.
I think that there's probably more requests. There's requests for more money than we have. And it's probably like that with every township and every municipality. I think our township itself needs to be considered a priority as we look at all the other options.
I would thank you for that comment. Yes, understand it. Anybody else have any questions or comments regarding the APR money? Chief,
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
you may.
So my proposal was to do some upgrades to the station. It goes in pretty detailed in the memo that I sent out to Greg. I'm sure he included that to you gentlemen as well. East Rockville has also expressed consideration to upgrade some equipment for the police department with some of the American Rescue Fund money. And the camera system inside the police department is what I'm proposing. We could do some upgrades to do some improvements that would get us on track for some things that were probably neglected over the years from a liability perspective. So like I said, I'm not going to get, I don't want, unless you would like me to get into detail with it. I don't know if this is necessarily the meeting that you're looking for that. But there is a memo there for you to review, and any consideration would be appreciated.
Okay, no need to go into detail, but do thank you for the memo, and we will consider it. I do see a hand raised here, Greg. John Swerda. John, you there?
Yes, Jay, thank you. I've got 4 suggestions to put on the list I'd like to quickly go through, if I may.
You may. Go ahead.
These are issues that have come up over the last couple of years in the township that are long-term issues that obviously would be in need of funding. The first is that there was a discussion a while back about a emergency access road that would connect North Tower Road to Tower Road. And I know there was an issue of getting right of way for that, but that's still a lingering issue in the township, that Tower Road is essentially a very, very, very long cul-de-sac with no emergency exit capability. The second one is the township purchased from Sellersville Borough the water pond on Catch Basin Road. However, large stretches of Catch Basin Road are both unpaved and narrow. So upgrading Catch Basin Road to a paved road would be something beneficial. The third one is that the township just this past month approved the Green Top development. And unfortunately, the both roads that feed that, Green Top Road and Wayland Road, are also very narrow in sections, that widening those roads would be beneficial, particularly to the people that will be moving into that development. And the fourth one may be a bit of a stretch, but the Holiday House pool, I share Mr. Collingwood's perceived skepticism about the long-term plan for making the pool viable. All the hard work and wishful thinking doesn't necessarily produce a solid financial plan. It was mentioned several months ago about the possibility of subdividing the property. Possibly the township could purchase part of the property to be used for non-aquatic activities that would still preserve the overall ground, give the pool a shot in the arm financially, and I think it would be very, very unfortunate if the property was subdivided and turned into houses. So if the township could add to its recreational area by purchasing part of the Holiday House pool ground, that might be something that would be beneficial to the township. Thank you.
Okay.
Good.
You're welcome. The catch basin pond that you were referring to, John, I just want to clarify that we refer that to as the catch basin reservoir. That was the Sellersville Reservoir, or called Catch Basin Reservoir. But yes,
I was fishing for the word and I couldn't think of reservoir. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Catch Basin Reservoir.
No
I
pun
identified that road to Greg as well, because I know that road is stone for probably 3/4 of that road. But
Yes.
that would take an enormous amount. We certainly will look at it and take it under consideration. So thank you for your input there. The one thing, go ahead.
I was going to ask a question. This might be for Greg. So I think any one of these items would probably exhaust all the funds. Under the rules for the funding, would it possibly be, say, for Catch Basin Road, that there would have to be some upfront engineering done before there would, you not just show up with paving trucks and start paving, that there would be some preliminary work that would need to be done. Could those costs be used for these federal funds just to do engineerings or studies or traffic studies or something like that?
It is my understanding that yes, it could be, because it's part of the project.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I don't know if we put it down there, but at our last fire panel meeting, the fire companies had asked for a possibility of a increase too. So I listed that under my list of things here, Greg, that you had started. You were down to number 10. Right now, I have here listed as high as already 15 here, 14.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just follow or bootstrap on one of John's questions. If you go back and look when Holiday House started, they used all sorts of funding options, which started with getting a bank loan, doing essentially a bond issue, and then initially they actually did a sale and lease back, which was like a 10-year lease to, I think, Sellersville and West Rock Hill of the site. So there were a lot of different ways of achieving that sort of financing. But concerned about as to Catch Basin Road, that would be I think that's going to be a heck of a lot of engineering. If you just blacktop it, you're going to end up with a wreck like 1,000-acre road used to be, with boulders poking up through it every couple of years and no sub base.
Yes. Can I bring up one thing, Greg? I'd like to regarding that property, the Holiday House property, because it definitely is an issue, or that's something I thought about. And several years ago, there was a request for a sewer easement through that property. And at the time, it would have cost that developer like $51,000 to go Holiday House Road to Washington Avenue. The Holiday House Joint Rec Authority granted an easement, sewer easement. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes.
And they only asked for what, 15,000?
I don't remember the exact number amount.
I think that number comes to my mind. So I wanted to know if the sewer line easement, if the sewer line was ever developed, was it ever put in?
I'm not sure. I would have to check with them.
Okay, can we check on that? Just to make a side note to check on the status of where that is, whether it was done. Did they actually go through with the voting of it and the passing of it? And what amount of money for sure?
Well, I do, Mr. Chairman, I do remember going through the 4-inch, 5-inch stack of paperwork, and I'm 90% certain there is a recorded easement that was signed somewhere in that stack of paperwork. I have it on a on a Google Drive somewhere around, so I can find it within a couple hours after we get done with this.
I'm pretty sure too that it was signed. I don't remember the amount, and I don't remember if it has been installed yet. But I'm pretty sure the easement has been executed.
Okay, and that would that have been signed by the Joint Rec Authority, not the municipalities, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other comments, questions regarding the APR funding requests that we have listed here so far? Greg?
Mr. Chairman, I also think it's important because once you have this, once you do the corrections or whatever you want to do, the township will have more funding available. Just part of, if we do roads, we'll have more money to do more roads or to do other things to help other entities in other ways. This will give us the opportunity to help elsewhere.
Okay.
In the township.
From the general fund, from the budget.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
So if the board decides to do roads, for example, and this is just an example, then you would have more money to maybe give to the fire companies or give to the Holiday House Pool or give to some of these other entities that have made these requests.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. So if I don't hear any other questions or concerns regarding the funding issues, I will ask for if there is any old business from the board regarding this matter or any other matter at this time.
I have none.
I have none.
Okay. Any new business? Okay, seeing none. I guess we will review this information that has been provided to us. And Greg, you're going to get us some additional information that we have asked upon. And as far as I'd like to look into the chief's request from the police department as well. And you did say that East Rock Hill was considering. They haven't made any decisions yet either, have they? That you know about?
No, they have not, to my
Okay.
knowledge. And what this really is just a starting point for you guys to have the ideas, hear ideas, get some public input. To start the ball rolling over the next 2 years, you're going to have to make a decision. So this is the first step.
Okay. Very good. All right. With that being said, any public comment? If so, please state your name and address. Don't see any. Do you see any, Greg?
I have none.
Okay. That being said, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved, David Collingwood.
Seconded, Hal Shermer.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank everyone for attending and your input. We will take it under advisement. Have a great evening.
Thank
Have a
you.
good evening.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.